Greetings, everybody. Can you hear me? Raise your hand in the back if you can hear me. All right, I did not get a lot of... Right, so I think I need to speak into this microphone. Can you hear me in the back? Raise your hand. Awesome. I know this is a packed room. This is incredible. Welcome, St. Paulite. We have a mayoral candidate race happening right here in St. Paul, and all you coming tonight is real testimony to how committed and concerned. All right, can you hear me now? All right, I think I'm going to eat this thing for dinner tonight. So again, thank you all for coming. It is a phenomenal crowd, and your being here tonight is real testimony to how committed you all are to the seeing St. Paul move forward here in Minnesota. So again, thank you for coming. We've got a great program for you tonight, and I just want to take a minute to make sure, one, you know who I am. I'm Jean Massey, and I'm the Executive Director of Fair Vote Minnesota. We are the organization that has helped organize and bring ranked choice voting to St. Paul. And we're doing a lot of education, and we'll make sure you have the education you need around ranked choice voting tonight before you leave. We are a proud sponsor of the forum tonight, along with several of the council districts on the west side. Highland District, thank you very much. Mac Groveland. I can hear everyone from these communities. Union Park, raise your hand, make some noise. West 7th Fort Road. And Summit Hill. Thanks to everyone who's hosting and bringing your community members here to us tonight. And we have all of the candidates running for mayor with us, and you'll have a chance, of course, to hear from all of them. Chen, Melvin Carter, Adam Dullinger, Kaohyl, and Mike Hilborn. We can't wait to bring you on stage here in just a moment. And moderating tonight's conversation is Chen Danger. Raise your hand if you've heard of Chen Danger before. That means you know what kind of a treat you're in for. I've known him for a long time. There's no moderator that digs into the issues like Chen can do with the candidates, and we welcome him tonight to facilitate the conversation. I want to give a formal bio of Chen so that if you don't know what he's all about and you want to use him in the future, you can do that. So Chen is the co-founder of a theater and education company called Danger Boat Productions, which uses improv to help people learn about civic issues and bring them together in community. He's a regular contributor to TPT's Almanac Public Affairs program. You might have seen him on TV there. He's also a graduate of Humphrey School of Public Affairs and works with them extensively on constructive dialogue work. He has hosted more than a dozen candidate forums over the past 13 years. So thank you, Dane, for being our moderator tonight. I also want to extend gratitude to SBNN, who is here and providing a live stream to the community audiences, and Fox News providing live stream as well, and all the media here tonight to help cover the conversation. This is a packed, sold-out crowd of people here to listen about how these candidates are going to make the future of St. Paul possible for all of us. And before I hand the mic over to Chen, I'm just going to go through a few seconds to describe the ranked choice voting process. Raise your hand if you know what ranked choice voting is. All right. So it looks like many of you might have voted it in St. Paul back in 2011, and we're really excited for this process. But as you listen to the candidates, what you want to do is consider how you're going to rank them in order of preference, marking a first choice, second choice, and third choice. And the reason we rank is so that you don't have to come out to the polls twice. There used to be a primary in August that no one came to, but cost the city a lot of money to actually implement. So with ranked choice voting, we simply consolidate the two elections into one. All the candidates come together with all of the voters in one high turnout election in November, when turnout is most diverse and it's at its greatest participation. And then with those rankings, we can do a runoff if needed. If none of the candidates tonight exceed the threshold to win, which is a majority, 50% plus one, then there's a runoff, and we'll use your rankings. So if your candidate is eliminated in the runoff, your second choice will count. So it's very important that you don't stop ranking at just one candidate. Rank them in order of preference. Your vote will count all the way through and maximize the power of your ballot. So we can take questions afterwards about the process if you have them. I will be out there with other staff from Faribault, Minnesota. Find us, but right now, sink in, listen to the candidates, and enjoy the show. Jane? Candidates, come on up.
So actually, wait one second. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here again. My name is Chen. Thank you all so much for being here. So we're going to hear from the 5 people running to be mayor of St. Paul this evening. I moved too far away already from the mic. I'm really excited to be doing this with you all. So thank you so much for being here. This is a tremendous turnout. This is wonderful. What we're going to do is we have a series of questions that have been submitted by you all, members of the public, that I've collected and curated with some of the folks who are with the neighborhood organizations and Faribault to try and get as broad a base of issues that you all have said you want to hear from these folks on as we can. So that's our goal for this evening. I am going to both give candidates an opportunity to answer questions, and when necessary, I'm going to ask for follow-ups and ask them to provide more specifics and ask them really specifically, wherever possible, to share with us where they differ from each other so that you all have as much information as you can have going into this election to know how to do, just as Jean said, your rankings of who your first, second, and third choice and beyond are for this race. So, with that, the reason I asked the candidates to wait just one moment to get on stage is because, again, we have a full house tonight. It is very exciting. I am going to ask 2 things of you all during the course of our program over the next hour and 15 minutes or so. Number 1, turn off your phones. Like, I don't even know if that's really possible, but do whatever you have to do to make it so that they won't go off during this time. So mute them, do not disturb, pretend you're on an airplane, however you have to do this to make it 2. 2, I'm going to ask, please, that everyone refrain from applauding or any other kind of like audience interjection during the course of the conversation that we're going to have with these candidates, if solely so that we can hear as much as possible from them. There is going to be a meet and greet afterwards, so if there's something that they said that you really want to clap and cheer for, or you really want to tell them why it rubs your gears the wrong way, you will have an opportunity to do that. But during the actual forum, I really ask you to, as it were, politely listen to what each of them have to say. Except for at this moment when I would invite all of you to make a big round of applause as we welcome all 5 of our candidates up onto the stage. Thank you all so much. So you also know we have a little bit of a microphone thing here, so we're going to be both speaking into the microphones in front of you and then handing across a microphone for this room. We're going to give each of our candidates an opportunity in 90 seconds to provide an opening statement. And just to frame that, we'd love to hear from each candidate, just moving down the line, why you believe you are the right person specifically to lead the city of St. Paul over the next 4 years. So we'll start right here with Chen.
Hello. Hello. Hi. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, the organizer, for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Chen. 3 years ago, I started to study our city budget and the performance. In these 3 years, I learned a lot. And I think I'm ready to lead the city in day 1. I put my funding and the results on my website. here is a short summary. Mr. Mayor, you have been mentioned in multiple forums that it is impossible to lower tax and improve services. Here, I beg the difference. If other city can do it, so can our city. But in order to do that, our city first have to correct a number of mistakes coming from your administration or coming from the past administration. More broadly, actually some of the mistake is actually coming from the state and the federal level. We cannot keep rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. It's time for us to solve the problem at its root cause. As a biophysicist for 30 years, I have the ability to untangle the issue for you. And on November 4th, I will be honored to have your first choice. And if not, I will like to ask for the second choice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so we are going to move down the line.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming out here today. This is an incredible turnout, and it bodes well for our city and for our democracy. My name is Melvin Carter, and I've had the honor and privilege of serving as mayor of this city that I was born and raised in, this city that I love, for the last 8 years. I tell my wife that I have the best job on the planet, and she says, well, you picked the wrong 8 years to do it, because it's very clear that we've been through a lot of crisis, and we've been through a lot of trauma. Whether that's a pandemic, whether that's the murder of George Floyd and the civil unrest that happened after it, or whether that's the collapse of our largest property owner downtown, we've been through a lot. We've come through it, and we've come through it in a way that we've brought down violent crime by double digits in every category. We've doubled our investment to rebuild our streets and our infrastructure, and we see more major investment signals right now in our city than we've seen in a very long time. It's not that I think I'm the one to do this, it's that I think we're the ones to do this. Everything that we've done has been through deep public engagement, whether that's the fact that every member of my cabinet has been hired through a community-based hiring process, or every budget that we've brought has been brought forward with hundreds of St. Paul residents' signatures and fingerprints on it, or that every major policy that we've brought forward has come forward with deep public engagement. We do believe that we have the capacity of taking care of the basics and taking care of one another at the exact same time. We have a lot of work to do. We have some significant challenges ahead, but also some significant wind in our sails, and I look forward to continuing to push forward with all of you. Thank you so much.
And we are going to move down the line to Adam Dullinger.
Hi everyone, my name's Adam Dullinger. I'm born and raised in Minnesota. I grew up in the woods outside of a small town in central Minnesota, and then I moved to the U of M to go to school for mechanical engineering, and I lived in Dinkytown for a good time there. So I've kind of experienced the whole realm of different city designs, and I'm deeply passionate about how the city is built, how it's designed. I consider myself an urbanist at heart. And so I've seen all that, and I've seen what works, and I've seen what doesn't, and I'm deeply passionate about learning more about all these things. You know, I've been out of school for about 7 years, but I never stopped learning. I pay attention to the things around me in the city. I bike to work every day, year-round, so I, get to see firsthand on the street how things are working and how they're not, which is something you don't often see in a car. And I really care about this city, and I feel like some of the decisions that have been made are not always the best, and I think that we need to make sure that we put our public interests before the interests of private businesses. I'm running because I don't believe that the people on this stage are going to do that. I'd love for you guys to vote for me, and I'm really excited to get into the issues. I don't really like talking about myself as much. I'd rather just talk about our city. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to keep moving down the line.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. You think I've been doing this for 7 years. I might be comfortable with this, but I'm feeling a little bit like queasy in my stomach. But thank you all for being here. So I'm State Representative Kaohyl, and I have actually been a state representative for 7 years. I'm also the Deputy Speaker Pro Temp and the DFL Chair of Commerce. Where I am today, my ancestors could have never imagined. I was born in the mountains of Laos in a bamboo hut. My family fought in the secret war, and we made our way to America in the 70s. My family has deep roots here in St. Paul. I grew up in Wisconsin, but I came here in 91, and they came here in 91, and so we've been here since. And when I think about what this country gave my family and what it did for us in allowing us to break the cycle of poverty in one generation, I think about the people and the resources and the city that allowed us to do that, the tools that they give. We received 3 of those $1 houses that the city gave away, which is how our family began to build wealth. And so I know that our city today is not the same city it was decades ago when my family was able to do that. And so that is why I'm running to be your next mayor. I often think about what Melissa Hortman used to say to us as I campaigned with her for 2 cycles across the state, is that these seats don't belong to us, and that we have to earn the right to represent all of you, and that I have a vision for what my city should look like, and in that I will be building affordable and abundant housing, a thriving economy, having safe neighborhoods, and defending our neighbors from what is happening at the federal government. And so I'm asking for your vote and your confidence to lead this city for this next term. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And finally, Mike.
Thank you. Big crowd tonight. This is awesome. Let me just tell you a little bit about who I am, and then I'm going to say why I think I might be a good choice. So my name is Mike Hilborn. I've lived here for 42 years. I raised my 3 sons just down the street on Niles Avenue. Started my business 30 years ago on Niles Avenue, out of my garage, kind of the classic story. I've had my business in 4 different places in St. Paul over those 30 years. Right now we're down on West 7th Street across from the Schmidt Brewery. We're a second chance employer. I hire a lot of men and women that either have been incarcerated or in recovery. We start everybody at $25 an hour, and everybody gets health and dental and 401k if they want it. I think what we need to turn this city around, and we are in a serious situation here. I don't know how many people saw a precarious state the other night, but St. Paul is right there with that situation. We have a serious financial problem. We have the highest sales tax in Minnesota. We have the highest property taxes in Minnesota. And when you're the most expensive place to live and you're the most expensive place to do business, people leave. St. Paul is one of 5, of the top 5 cities in Minnesota. Only one of those 5 have lost population, and that's St. Paul. Over 500 businesses have left St. Paul from 2020 to 2022, and that's not going to slow down, and it's not slowing down. We have to lower taxes. Have to. Don't want to. Have to. We have a crime problem, a serious crime problem. Businesses are also not moving into St. Paul and are leaving because of the crime that their employees have to deal with and their customers. That's a problem. And then third, I don't think anybody sleeping in tent is compassionate. I think we need to take a serious look at this homeless, and we got to stop people from living in tents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So you actually teed up, several of you talked about property taxes as one of the issues, which was something that we got numerous questions about. And so I will begin there. I have a question here from someone who I believe is here this evening, who talks about, I grew up in St. Paul, I love being here, I want to stay here. However, my property taxes have gone up as a homeowner, and I am worried I am at a point where my home will no longer be affordable because of taxes. Realistically, what can you do as mayor to help alleviate this issue? And I'll start with Mike down at the end.
So we absolutely have
60
to look.
seconds, I should say. By the way.
Okay, thank you. So we absolutely have to lower taxes. Okay, so we have to look for everywhere where there is waste and where we're spending money that we don't need to. I do not understand why we are building a $120 million bike lane for 4.5 miles going from one side of Mississippi to the other down Summit. We have a bike lane. If you've ever driven down that road, it's a wonderful bike lane that we already have. And we're going to lose 1,000 trees. And you talk to the citizens on Summit Avenue, and 80% of the people in there, and I grew up in Highland Park. I consider Summit Avenue like my street. I love Summit Avenue. And why? Why are we building that? And then why aren't we getting the answers to why we're doing this? I don't get it. And then I think, okay, well, this is something very, very aware to all of us. I'm sure most of us in this room know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what are the things that we're spending money on that are hidden, that we don't know? We're the highest property tax, highest sales tax in Minnesota. That means there's room to cut because we do not need to be the most expensive place to live, the most expensive place to run a business.
I'm going to give you another 30 seconds. I hear the example of the Summit Avenue bike lanes, which I promise we will get into. Are there other specific cuts that you are proposing that would actually lower people's property tax burden?
Okay, so as a business owner, you don't always know what you get into. I run like 6 different things in my company, and the whole idea is to keep the guys working year-round. So we're a power washing company, spring, summer, fall. We're a snow plowing company in the winter, and all kinds of stuff. We're coming up on $1 billion in fraud in the state of Minnesota. There's a new example of fraud that comes out about every week. What's going on? We know it's not just Minnesota. It's everywhere. We have to find it and get rid of it. So I think there's a lot of money. When you're the most expensive, there's going to be lots of places to eliminate waste.
Okay, I'm going to move back down the line, Kaohyl.
Thank you. This is actually a really important question because not only do we have to look at how we might alleviate property taxes, but we have to start looking at new revenue sources. We can't keep relying on the backs of our residents in order to generate the funds and to run our city's operations. So one, I think that is looming funding cuts from the federal government and from state having a fiscal cliff, and with the counties having their services needed to be cut, that we have to actually take really hard looks at what we're doing. We have duplicate services when we think about libraries. We have libraries in schools, we have libraries in county libraries, we have city libraries. We also have after-school programs with Parks and Recs, and so nonprofit partners like the Santa Foundation or Twin Cities Boys and Girls Club. There are many partners who also do some of the similar things that the city does. We have to all get down together and say, where do we have duplicate services? Where it is, then we can say, for these next 3 years at least, that we have to tighten our belts, and what might we have to do to streamline some of these services to save some money. I said the last thing is that we have to generate new revenue sources, and I have an idea around an urban wealth fund that's been successfully done in both European and major cities in Asia, and that we have prime opportunity here to leverage our own city assets in order to generate new revenues to alleviate the cost of that in the backs of our residents.
Okay, this might be wildly unfair, but can you explain that concept in 30 seconds?
It's very, so my background is in investments and finance. So the Urban Wealth Fund is that you leverage the assets that you already have. And so then you work with developers to develop those land, but you maintain the asset as the city ownership, because once you sell that piece of property, you no longer have the ability to generate your own revenues from that. So whether it is housing or whether it is businesses or what you're working with developers on, then you actually have then the development lease that back from you, and so they're paying you revenues in order to use those properties. The city right now, on the city's own website, has 30 parcels of commercial property. I pulled this right from the city itself. We also have 1,600 vacant properties. We can start with the properties we already own and be able to set up a fund. We can also have, in this fund, have partners such as our sports teams, such as businesses that are here to contribute to this fund, so that the revenues generated from the interest of that can be used in order to also offset the city's resources.
Thank you. Adam Dullinger. Just as a reminder for both you and the audience, both here and at home, this was a question about, are there ways to relieve the property tax burden on homeowners and property owners in St. Paul?
I definitely think so. There's a lot of projects in the city that cost a lot of money, and Public Works and Parks and Recreation are some of the largest contributors of our budget, or our largest spending. And there are lots of projects that I think can be done a little better. I think we don't need to be giving our friends the best, deals and contracts and stuff. Like, we got to really try to do things as efficiently and cheaply as we can. One specific example that I like to bring up is Pedro Park. $7.5 million for a 0.87 acre park, which was already was a community garden beforehand. I think that's way too much money for a park. I love the park. It's a beautiful park. It's great, but I spent a lot of time in college recording landscape architecture lectures. I was in engineering, but I worked in the architecture department for video and stuff. And there's just so many things that you can do to cut those costs. You don't need custom formed concrete and all these fancy things. Like, if we're trying to really keep up with our budget, we need to not overspend on those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you. I promise I'm going to give people follow-ups in different places, but I'm going to keep moving down to Mr. Carter. The question, in the next 4 years, are there ways to relieve this property tax burden?
Yeah, thanks. We all know that we've lived in an era of just record inflation. Everything that we do costs a lot more money. The city, the same way we have to put gas in our police cars and our fire trucks, we have to light every city building, and that costs more for the city to do the same as it costs for all of us to be able to do. So we have to make things more affordable. I definitely don't agree with cutting bike lanes. Bike lanes make life more affordable for folks. I definitely don't agree with cutting our libraries. Libraries are something that enable people to participate in this economy. But there are things that we can do. We can diversify our revenues. We passed a sales tax a couple of years ago that helps people, oh my gosh, 30 seconds, that helps people, that invites people who come in from the suburbs to participate in the solution for our infrastructure. We increased the franchise fee that tax-exempt entities pay into, and we have to build. We have to be able to build. We have to be able to construct, and parks. for example, give us the opportunity to do that. One of our challenges is definitely making sure that we continue our momentum downtown. We have a lot of opportunity to construct downtown. Building parks and infrastructure helps us send the signals to the private sector that that's where they should invest.
So, okay, I will do a quick follow-up, because you named sales tax. Are there other new revenue sources that you think about that you haven't had an opportunity to do yet that you could imagine doing in the next 4 years?
Well, we've pushed those, like I said, those two that I had. The other thing that I had on my paper that I didn't get a chance to really do is say we have to be able to transform our processes. So, for example, we brought online BLS units for the city, essentially EMTs in a van that can help us respond to medic calls in a more economic way. We're just bringing online a system called Pauly that helps to completely transform licensing and permitting. We can do permitting applications and inspections right on cell phones right now. So also thinking about 21st century processes, things like that, that can help to make our business plans more cost effective. We have delivered really good financial services for our city. The organizations the experts that go around rating cities give us the highest possible rating. That's a AAA stable.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Chen.
Hello. Yeah, I think maybe I will tell you a little bit what made me so determined to run for mayor, because I studied our city budget. I plotted our budget from 2008, and I looked at the trends for both revenue and spending, both of them going to the wrong direction. So at that moment, I realized we have a clear issue on hand. And during that time was COVID time. We had the money, but our city government didn't invest wisely. So how can we do that? I would say go back to the spending part. Let's look back. 2008, what did we achieve versus now, what did we achieve? Can we look at individual program to figure out whether individual program are they effective? If they are effective, are they efficient? And we can look at and we can examine everything. Also revenue. Revenue is a big issue. But what my observation is, we're losing revenue. Right now, we're just losing revenue, and we need to stop the bleeding first before investment.
I know that this is an issue that you even named. It's really a driving force for you. So can you give us a couple of, if you were mayor over the next 4 years, like what would be some of the changes we would see?
I would say probably the major change would be public works, right? Because that's a big department spending. $200 million, we go into the public works department. And so question is, I look at the other cities' budget, public works. For example, Madison, Wisconsin, they have bigger areas than us. They have a similar number of populations. And yet their street condition is far more superior than us. Why? Can we learn from them?
That's fair. Okay, I gave everybody a follow-up except for Adam, so I'm going to go back to Adam and give you another 30 seconds. If there's other specifics, we've heard some examples. You gave an example of somewhere where you feel like there might be overspending. Are there other examples of either overspending that you would look at cutting or new revenue sources that you want to put on the table?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to mention that we shouldn't spend $200 million of our money on new arena renovations. I think that's a poor use of funds, especially when we're in a tough time financially. But another example is tax increment financing districts, I think are far overused in this city. 8% of our property taxes go to basically private developers, and I think we should slow using that. Because over time that goes away, and we kind of need that property tax revenue. So yeah. We brought up several people brought up sort of increasing commercial development, and as you might imagine, again, this is a topic that we got a lot of questions and a lot of comments on. So I think that maybe just the sort of most straightforward one of these was somebody submitted, what plans do you have to increase commercial development in downtown and along University Avenue by the stadium? And Adam, since you've got the microphone, I'll start with you for 60 seconds. All right, yeah. I think the best way to increase commercial development is to make the city a better place to live. I don't think it should be the city's job to, court businesses from all around the country to come to St. Paul and we give them tax breaks or do this and that, try to encourage them to come in. if there's the people here who are active in the community, the people will, or the businesses will come, and especially the businesses will arise from the people when we give them the opportunity to. I think that there's a lot of untapped demand for small businesses in this area, and part of that is because we don't, everyone wants to go into these specific corridors, but I think that the city council should open it up to allow more businesses in neighborhoods, stuff like that, but that's not what the mayor can do. But I think that there's a lot more that we can do to make the city a better place. Things like pedestrianizing different areas downtown so that people actually want to walk around and go. It's like that organic foot traffic is so important for getting people from place to place. We don't want to make places just boom and bust cycles where they have to drive in and drive out. It's got to be more sustainable.
So specifically, I mean, usually I'm the one who says, well, that's something the city council does versus the mayor, but you named it. So what is it as mayor you can do to make it so that this is as you said, a better place where just more people want to live? Can you give me some policy specifics?
Yeah, specifically
30 seconds.
Pedestrianizing places, especially downtown. It's not the best place to be a pedestrian, and so I think if you can kind of make some of those areas into pedestrian malls, and just kind of making everywhere a better place to bike to walk to, anything other than a car. I think we've prioritized cars for long enough, and those are kind of the direct things, because through the Public Works Department, you have control over the design of the streets. And I think that's extremely important for us to make a change towards, because I don't think we're making enough effort there.
Okay, thank you so much. Kaohyl. The original question was, how would you try and increase commercial development downtown as well as potentially along University Avenue?
I think that this is a really important question. We've knocked thousands of doors in our campaign here. I knocked doors personally. One of the biggest issues right on top of property taxes is businesses in St. Paul, and businesses shutting their doors and businesses not wanting to come here. And so for me, what is really important is that in order for people to want to do business here, we can't have the reputation of being the hardest city to do business in. I've asked people, why is it? Is it just because we have better standards and we ask more of you? And they said, no, you just have really terrible processes here. Your people don't return phone calls when we want to start a business and we want to get our licenses and our permits, that we don't get those in a timely manner. Somebody who wants to just move their yoga studio from St. Clair over to Grand Avenue took a year to get that permit. The people who are trying to open up their restaurants, and they're literally weeks from opening, and they said the city can't find their liquor permit. You cannot run a city when people cannot open their businesses here. That is really important. And that the poly system, wonderful. You've had 8 years to build the system. This is not new, and people have been leaving us for this entire past term. We need to do better, and we have to. The mayor's job is to sell the city. I will get in front of businesses and sell our city and make sure they come here, because we've already lost out on many opportunities.
So I'm actually gonna move back to Melvin Carter. I mean, this does feel, this is a pretty direct question. Like, this way of doing business in the city is not working, is what I'm hearing. Can you respond to that? And then I'll give you 30 seconds to respond to that before I ask you the same question.
Yeah, that's exactly why we completely transformed the way we do business in the city. I just talked about that poly system that we built. Right now, for the first time in our city's history, we can apply for permits online, we can schedule inspections online, we can log on and see where we are in that process. We can, like I said, inspect properties and inspect work jobs via our cell phones. Our goal right now, and I said this in my budget address, we have to do everything that we can to build as much as we can, as fast as we can, and that's a core of that, is completely overhauling all of those brand new processes. We brought those online. Oh, sorry, I'm out of time.
Well, okay, so I'm going to give you the next 60 seconds to respond to the original question. That was about the processes, but what is it in the next 4 years that you can do to increase commercial development downtown that is new or different or will move the ball forward?
One of the biggest ones really is that process, is making sure that people clearly see that we're open for business, that we're excited, they want to invest in our city. We created a downtown investment strategy. You can just Google St. Paul downtown investment strategy that lays all of this out. It has 3 major things. One, we have big opportunities for major projects downtown, whether that's the River's Edge project, whether that's the Grand Casino Arena, whether that's Central Station project. We have a lot of big projects, making the most of those projects. The right-of-way, you're right, making it easier to kind of get around our downtown downtown, which is why we had so much dust downtown. We put downtown on a cycle to repave every street downtown. We're repaving streets. We just opened a brand new park downtown. We're investing heavily in our right-of-way downtown. And the last one is office to housing conversions. That's one of the big things that we can do to invite more people to live here, is just create more opportunities for people to live here, build much more housing. 93% of our housing units downtown are occupied. We can build a whole lot more of that, and when we build it, people do come.
Okay, I'm going to go down to Mike at the end with the original question, increasing commercial development downtown.
Okay, so what actually caused me to run for mayor is last November, my landlord, who's awesome, came to me and he said, hey, Mike, your rent's going up a lot, so we need to meet now because when your lease is due in May, I need to make sure you have time to find a new place and I have time to find somebody to replace you. And so we brought it in, and my rent went from $17,000 to $22,000 a month. And this is my business, okay, which is dramatic. And that's, you can't, and I'm staying. I said, no, I'm staying for another 5 years anyway. But we have it, we're short 60 cops, 60 police officers. We need to make sure that businesses can do business and not have people walk in and out without paying for things. We have to have restaurants that are allowed to stay up past 10, because right now they're all not all, they're closing at 10 because they could stay open till 2, but they're having too many problems with their customers, with issues, and with their employees. Mickey's Diner, my lovely fiance right over there, stand up, Jemery. We're at Mickey's Diner, and we said, are you guys still open 24 hours a day? No, we close at 10 now because it's just too much trouble after 10 o'clock. So even before we start talking about taxes, we got to take care of the crime problem, and then let's jump right back into the homelessness thing.
Okay, so I'm hearing a set of solutions around public safety. I mean, we've heard a few other things around infrastructure and around business incentives. Are there any of those that you would either pick up on or ways that you want to disagree with any of the other candidates on some of the things they've recommended? I'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay, I really like what Representative Hurst said. Okay, we have St. Paul. You guys would not believe how difficult it is to work with St. Paul for businesses. Friend of mine kind of represents companies to come in, and 5 guys came into St. Paul, and their comment to him was, we will never put another location in St. Paul because you have made it so difficult. So I'm all for the online thing. I love that. But there's got to be something behind the online thing, so when you don't get the answer, you have to have a group of people, a staff that want to help, that want to see people grow. And I'm telling you, we can villainize businesses, and I know that's a fun thing to do, but if you lose your businesses, the whole thing falls apart.
Thank you. You have been very patient, Chen, so I'm going to give you a chance. Your ideas for increasing commercial development in St. Paul.
So here is the issue I illustrated that basically we're losing revenue, right? Because, for example, if we don't deal with crime, business closed down. And the cup of foods is one example. Lunch buyers is another example. Everybody is worried about Walgreens. Walgreens might be closing too. And we have to do that because instead of keep thinking about how to invest for the future, first thing first, trying to make sure all the people already on the ground are taken care of and they're happy. Second of all, I want to actually coming back to Melvin Carter's his vision, how to develop a downtown. He mentioned that it's converting residential place, commercial place to residential. That's, again, we're making the same mistake as what we did 30 years ago. 30 years ago, we overbuilt the downtown, and we just have an empty building without business follow through. Again, we're doing the same thing. Right now, we have 9,000 residents in downtown. They have no place to go. If we cannot make this happen, I wonder how can we do the things differently.
Melvin Carter, I'll give you a chance to respond, but I actually want to stick with you on Chen for just a second here, because, so am I hearing you say that residential, sort of commercial to residential transitions, you would not pursue that?
I will pursue if some building can come down completely. Okay, but the problem is conversion is super costly. It is super costly because you're going into, first of all, we're going to reducing our tax base. Second of all, it is also very cost ineffective. We have an example of Landmark Tower. Mm-hmm. This is the best building to convert in downtown. and yet we spend $60 million. 20 million our city funding, 20 million from the state, and 20 million from federal.
All
This
right.
shouldn't happen.
Thank you. Melvin Carter, I'll give you a chance to respond specifically on this question of residential conversions.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember reading the articles about how Town Square or whatever the latest commercial building was going to save downtown. Saying we're going to build residential downtown is actually the opposite of what we've historically done. If you look at the downtowns that have thrived best through the pandemic, they're downtowns that have a lot more residents downtown than St. Paul does, which is why we're there. The work patterns have changed. They've just shifted through the pandemic. They're not going to snap back to pre-pandemic normals. We have to be ready for that, and building a significant amount more housing downtown is at the core. Two of our most urgent challenges right now are continuing our momentum downtown and building more housing. We put those two things together with converting office space into residential.
Yes, okay, yes, 30 seconds for you to respond.
That sounds all good. That the problem is right now, what's the cost and how long it takes to convert it, right? Right now we have 9,000 residents. We first need to stabilize them. And the second question is, can we still bring business to downtown? Because when you have so many residents, yet you don't have anything to do, what are we going to do about it? So yes, I have nothing against what he said, but the question is how is a really big question. We cannot using our future property tax to pay for today's development.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm going to come down to Kaohyl. People are really want to get in on this talk about commercial to residential conversions.
But I think that this is a really important topic, though, is that it can't be one or the other. You have to have a mix of commercial and residential. But it can't be the same type of commercial that we've had in the past. Like, I actually engage with the arts and culture community to say, like, how do we build a downtown that actually resonates with young people who want to live life experiencing things? Because you can build a bunch of residential. Like, I just happened to be in Mears Park the other day, and I talked to a number of people who were living down there, and they said, there's nothing to do down here. And that we can't even get through the skyways because they're shut down because of issues of crime and issues of safety. And so, like, we can't have this conversation without understanding that it can't be built it has to be built with a vision of all of it together, of how do we have the best mix of both things. But we have to build retail and commercial for a new generation of people, not those big department stores that we might have had in the past. It's just not going to work. And so I've had a lot of conversations with developers, with partners, with individuals who have ideas about how we can incorporate all of these pieces into our city so that we are an experiential city, not just a city that you're supposed to live in.
And I'm going to try and do this not even as 30 seconds, like 15 seconds. There's a pretty far divide between Melvin Carter and Chen on like how important commercial to residential transit. Where are you on this spectrum? How much of the solution do you see those conversions from commercial to residential being for downtown?
Well, there's already been an assessment done. Some of those buildings have to get knocked down. So, like, you have opportunity to build new. There is some conversion that can happen, but there needs to be a mix of all of this. And we are not the smartest people dealing with this. There are a lot of smart people already doing it, have been doing the work. We have to, and this is part of our city's problem, is we don't partner with people when we should. And that is the problem as to why we can't build something comprehensive.
I'll come back to the mayor in just a moment, but Mike, I'm going to give you a chance on this specific question. Commercial to residential, is where are you on this spectrum?
We want to be commercial anytime possible. The reason is the commercial businesses pay 3.6%, something like that, for property tax. Residential is about 1.2. So every time you lose a commercial business, you have to have 3 times as many homeowners at the same property value to make up the difference. So commercial is what we want. And St. Paul, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to have a business. It's got a river, a working river, actually. It's got an airport 15 minutes away. It has a regional airport in the city. We've got light rail. We have everything for a business to want to be in St. Paul, except for taxes.
Okay. Oh, and now I've got a new poll on this spectrum, but so I'm going to come to Adam Dullinger, just because I'd love to get everybody sort of on the record on this. Sort of, where do you fall on this question?
Yeah, the conversions are a good idea, I think, when done right. It does cost more to do that, but at the end of the day, I think it's important to, help the businesses that want to do these conversions along, but I don't think it's necessarily the city's job to fund it. There's a lot of situations where we're putting a bunch of city money into these developments that end up just profiting, the profits go to the developer or to whoever owns the property. Yeah. So I just think that we should be helping them along and guiding that discussion, but I don't think that the city should be the one that's kind of funding it unless we're going to get the benefit directly and actually, run those buildings ourselves.
Okay, got it. I feel like if I appreciate it. If you all thought you were coming out for a long conversation about commercial versus residential property tax, you're welcome. So I'm going to move to, we were bringing up public safety, and there was a comment that Mike Hilborn made that he said the city is short 60 cops, and I saw a couple of people make sort of faces at that, and so I want to give an opportunity to dive into that. And we had some questions here as well about what solutions are available in terms of preventing youth from getting involved in violent crime. And so I realize that's a large can of worms. Melvin Carter, I will start with you. Can you respond to this note, this suggestion that the city is short 60 cops? If it is, how does it come up to the amount that you would suggest? And what other public safety pieces would you recommend?
Yeah, we've got a budgeted sort of number that we've always kind of fluctuated up and down. And when I came in mayor, it was like we had one police academy a year, so we get there and then we drop and we go up and we drop. We are about, I think in a couple of weeks, we'll start our third police academy this year. So we kind of end up kind of hovering kind of a little bit more stable there. I believe there's 30 or some police officers there, so that'll be incredible. But the real question is, what is public safety doing? We've had 8 homicides in St. Paul this year. We've had 8 homicides in St. Paul this year. Every single category of violent crime is down by double digits right now. Every single category of violent crime is down by, that's shorter than I thought. Every single category of violent crime is down by double digits right now, and that's because of some really incredible work by our police officers working in partnership with a lot of the infrastructure that we've built through our Community First Public Safety Framework. That gives us a space to really focus in on our opioids and fentanyl issues and quality of life issues that you're already seeing in place in our downtown and also along the University Avenue corridor.
Okay, Mike, since this was your question originally, I'm going to give you next. You named this, and you've named public safety as one of your top issues. So what would look different if you were mayor?
So the Grand Old Day Parade earlier this year, I went to that Walgreens because I was short a ruler. And I talked to the manager, and I said, hey, how's the crime down here on Walgreens on Grand Avenue? And she said, it's terrible. She goes, there is a felon that has a warrant for his arrest that comes into our Walgreens frequently, grabs toilet paper and walks out, and the cops know who he is, but they don't do anything about it. And see, and that's what's happening. We're not holding our criminals accountable. So there was this other example where this guy was walking down West 7th Street, broke a whole bunch of windows. The next day, he's right back on the street. And Cassetta, and I think that's what I would do, he left that to be plywood for about 3 months, which we don't want that. But he's trying to make a statement. We have to we have to have the right number of cops, and we can't vilify them and make them bad guys, okay? So thank you for doing the 3 different academies. Fantastic. We got to get up to that full number, and then they need to be on the street. They need to be on the street and interacting with people, and when we catch a guy that's breaking the law, there's an accountability to that.
So I want to, those are powerful anecdotes, and what is it that you specifically as mayor would do differently to change that?
I would be on TV every single day whenever we set somebody back on the street that should go to jail. If we have a judge that doesn't want to hold people accountable, I'm going to have my own primetime 5-second blurb on one of the channels to say, hey, this has got to stop. Good enough?
Sure. I am going to move along. Kaohyl, on public safety, how would public safety look different if you were mayor?
Yeah, so I want to just acknowledge that there is a shortage of police officers, but this is an issue across the state. As a state legislator, I actually worked with all of my chiefs, whether they are for state patrol or our county sheriffs or the city, our police officers, is that we had to actually change sort of some of the standards around policing so that we could have people who might want to have a second career in law enforcement for them to be able to transition. There are some pretty strict standards about how you can, who can be in law enforcement. And so this is not going to be a St. Paul itself solution. We're going to have to continue to work with the different levels of government who have different levers to pull in order for us to say, do we have the right policy in place to be able to attract more people into law enforcement. I think that that is really important. I will say that in addition to, we've been talking a lot about violent crime, and I want to say kudos to the mayor that violent crime is down, and I'm glad that that work has happened. I did bring in $10 million to address the carjacking at gunpoint situation, and so I've been a part of that solution. But I will also say that we have to look at public safety as more than just police, because our EMS are we're the only city where all emergency services come from our fire, and we have done very little to actually support them and to ensure that they help us weather through these next 3 years while everybody is losing their health insurance. They're going to rely more on emergency services, which is additional cost to our city. I have a plan for that, but you didn't give me enough time, so.
Well, okay, I'll give you another 30 seconds.
So I will say that our police. So what we have to do is actually work with our state legislators. I've been working with Representative Hewitt and Senator Seeberger on more reimbursable services. And so right now our EMS go out after somebody's had a surgery and can go and do a wellness check on them. Right now we do that for free, and that we are actually trying to have an initiative where when you go out, then it is a reimbursable services, so the city can get money for the work that it is doing. In addition to that, when our fire trucks, when our EMS are not out, that our fire stations can also serve as a drop-in service, and that there is work around the FQHCs, the federally funded health cares that we can partner with, and also institutions that we can work with, our pharmacies, all of these entities coming together to say what are the highest reimbursable services, vaccines, some of the preventative care that we can do that is lower cost but higher reimbursed. We can actually add some of those. See, there's a lot of plans. I can't give them all the answer. I have a really comprehensive plan around that, though, okay?
There's a time for meet and greet afterwards where you will be able to spend a lot more time on this. Melvin Carter, I'm going to come back to you, and then I promise, Adam, I'm coming back to you, but there was a direct note there that we are leaving too much up to EMS right now. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, we've actually done a whole lot there, and we actually do bill insurance for that, so, for accurate information there. We've actually built, and I mentioned before, the BLS system. So when I became mayor, for example, if I trip and fall and sprain my ankle on my way down the stage, a whole ambulance comes and responds, which means that ambulance isn't available for other calls, which also means a whole fire truck isn't available for other calls because those same drivers would be on that fire truck as well. We created an EMS system, which is essentially EMTs on a van to respond to those lower acuity calls, to be able to do that so that we can be able to respond to those lower acuity calls and keep that. That's part of one of the examples that I was saying about making our business models more cost effective.
Kaohyl, yeah. How would it be different, based on what Mr. Carter just said?
So I want to be really clear. Our EMS services is reimbursed, but is it as one of the lowest reimbursement rates? Our city, it costs us more money to send out EMTs than it does for us the money that we get back. So yes it is. I sat in the health committee. It's my turn now. That's really rude that you keep interrupting. So I sat in the health committee for 4 years. I know what reimbursable events are, and I know how much it is. And this has been a huge issue at the state, being led by an EMS representative. So for us to say that somehow we're making up what the cost of this is just absolutely a lie. And that there are ways in which we can increase the capacity in order for us to actually have other reimbursable services coming to us. And so there are already maps of what we can do. There's initiatives that are happening at the state level. We could do a better job. And I'll be very clear. If you talk to our firefighters, they've said there's been very little investment in them. They need more firefighters and more EMS in order to do their jobs well. Because if you fall to a 3 to 4% rate, instead of having 4 people on and you only have 3, it actually compromises your services and your ability to deliver care to people. And that is one of their biggest issues. And they've had difficult conversations with our city in order to get that staffing.
Thank you. Adam Dullinger, you are in the middle of this already, and so
Solve it, man.
Yeah.
how would public safety look different if you were mayor over the next 4 years?
I'm going to throw a curveball here and talk about public safety on our roads, which is equally as important as a lot of murders and things like that. The same number of people die every year on the roads as die in murders, and I think that there's a lot of things that we can do to make that better. There's traffic calming to slow people down. People don't follow the speed limit, and the only way to force them to do that is to make the street design to be a little more hazardous for them to go 100 miles an hour down the street. And it's so tragic to me to see that there are very obvious solutions to these problems on our streets about just putting speed bumps in or having things in the way that slow people down. And I'm out of time, I guess.
I appreciate that answer, and just because I'm trying to get everybody on, one of the original pieces of this question is this question of, do we have enough officers, sworn officers, in the city of St. Paul right now? Do you believe that we need more? If so, how would you propose recruiting more?
I'm not sure the specifics on the police department. I don't work there, so I don't know what their staffing issues are specifically. But there's lots of ways that you can kind of help, and part of that is just the public perception and getting people, to appreciate the police a little more, and getting the police out there, like in the community and talking and also following the laws. When people, literally today I saw a police officer just roll right through a stop light or stop sign, and it's just, if you don't have that perception of things, that the people kind of get animosity against you, and you need to have that positive perception so that people want to be police officers in the city, because they don't want to be at this fight with the public. They want to be, helping the public.
Thank you. Chen, I'm going to come down to you, and I'm going to start with you for the next one, too. So.
I would say if you look at our climate issue, it has been so chronic. And what's the bottleneck for this? I personally think the bottleneck is not identify who is the criminal. We all know who are the criminals. The question is, do we have the tools to rehabilitating them? That's super important, right? Because right now we cannot prosecute people because we feel the system has been a revolving door. And if it's a revolving door, why even sending them there? But the question is, should it be the revolving door? No, it shouldn't be a revolving door. So basically, how can we change these dynamics? I would say that requires really coordination, like colleague, Representative Her already mentioned. We need to leverage different government agencies to start to learn how to rehabilitating people.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the nuance a lot of people are sharing. Since I'm trying to get everybody on this, do you believe, are more officers part of that solution, or is it something else?
I don't think it's a part of the solution. We don't need more police officers. I think we need a very more adaptive police officer, right? We need to learn how to solving problem. We need to prevent crime from happening. We need coordinating with schools, preventing kids become criminal. We need to work with our city government, whether it's from park and the rec department, basically just preventing things, A, from happening. B is once people already committed a crime, how can we make sure we need to hold them accountable? Because just being negligent, that's equally irresponsible. And we need to hold people accountable. But the rehabilitation is very important piece of the second puzzle.
Okay, thank you so much. So, if you all thought that was feisty, just wait. As you might imagine, we got a whole batch of questions about Summit Avenue Bicycle Trail. And there were a lot of questions, I think it's fair to say, on multiple sides of this issue. I chose not to pick any of those, and instead, one person simply submitted, what is your position on the Summit Avenue Bicycle Trail, which felt relatively straightforward. So, Chen, I will start with you.
Well, I would say Summit Avenue Bicycle Trail, I even don't want to even start to judge its merits or not, right? But it's just the wrong priority at the wrong time. Right now, we have so many priorities. Do we have a good transit plan for our city? We don't. We have a 2040 bicycle plan. But if the bicycle plan is not tied into our transit plan, what I mean by transit plan, there is a bus plan, there is a housing plan. Everything needs to be tied together. If we don't do things holistically, we just do piecemeal. We go into using money once, twice, 3 times. We're going to rip off our street in the next couple years. No, it's the wrong priority, period.
Okay, this one I'll go down the line. Melvin Carter.
I'm excited about the plan for a number of reasons. One, we started this conversation about how life has just gotten more expensive. Being able to commute this city and live in this city without the cost of car ownership is absolutely critical for our future. Let me tell you, speaking of our future, people ask me what my vision is for the city, and I tell folks it's irrelevant. What matters is when our children get to the age where they want to decide where to plant their family or their business, what will they be looking for? The 16-year-old tradition that I grew up in running to the DMV to get your driver's license as soon as as possible isn't what our teenagers are up to today. They're interested in biking our city. They're interested in taking transit through our city. They're interested in being able to walk through our city. So that helps us be able to move forward. Finally, we have to reconstruct Summit. We have to reconstruct Summit. Taft was the president the last time we reconstructed Summit. And it's not just about the pavement, but it's about the water main underneath. We have to reconstruct Summit. We've found a solution that allows us to be able to do that within the existing curb cut that does do the traffic calming that you were talking about earlier, Adam. This is about building and positioning our city for the next 100 years, and I think it's going to be something that's very critical for us.
Adam Dullinger?
Yeah, I think we should build that Summit Avenue trail. I think if you look at the Summit Avenue bike lanes and think that they're not in need of change, you're just blind to the realities in the world. And not only do we need to build Summit, we need to build a connected bike infrastructure across the entire city. I drove here today because there's not a safe way to bike here. You know, I bike everywhere I go, everywhere I can. I biked all the way out to Plymouth this weekend. It was like 30 miles from where I started at work. And it's just, these are the things, and especially like you brought up the kids thing, you know, kids don't get to drive. And like, I grew up out in the woods in like a small town, and I had to bike all the way down a country road, extremely dangerous. I don't know why my mom let me do that, but that's what gave me freedom as a kid. And like right now, it feels like kids are just isolated in their homes, and they have to be chauffeured to any place they want to go. And part of that is just because it's dangerous. Parents don't want to have their kids go biking on that county road. It's dangerous, and they don't want their kid to die. And it's important to have that be a safe infrastructure across the city, and not just when we're going to be rebuilding a road for cars too.
Kaohyl.
So I say that the question being asked is flawed, because you're asking me to make a decision on a planning from a group of people who I think handled it very poorly. We've pitted two groups against each other, bikers and the people who live there. And that for me to say that I get to decide and what it is I want to do and what I think is best is the wrong answer. And that when a city is invested in groups of people fighting so that they never have to take responsibility for the flaws of why now these groups are fighting so vigorously, and that while people are dying in our cities, people are using emergency services, that people don't have housing to live with, that this is the most important issue that we got multiple questions on. I think that we are flawed in what we're asking here, and what we should look at is, why is this the only street that doesn't have infrastructure? It's been from the Taft years. I mean, Marshall is the better connector between Minneapolis and the downtown. And yet, they have old infrastructure. Is it because we don't care about low-income communities and black and brown people who need their infrastructure updated? Like for me, looking at bike paths means we're looking at equity. That when we talk about the plan for this city and what is happening, that we are looking at building infrastructure out, that my people on the east side who live in a low-income housing unit trying to get to work at the gas station, or their kiddos going to the library, did we bring them to the table to have discussions around this so that we can say we're building a city that is bikeable and walkable for everyone in this city? We are asking the wrong questions.
So I appreciate that, and yet that is a question that multiple people asked, and I feel as though there is a way in which if you are mayor, you will have to deal with that question. And so I suppose there's options in terms of supporting it, opposing it, or starting the process over.
So what I will say is that even before I decided I was going to run for mayor, the city residents were coming to me at the state asking me to look at this. So I pulled people together, and I also asked the city departments to come talk to me, and they could not answer my questions. When I said, why was it designated as a regional trail? Who designated? Who wanted it? And they just kept talking to me about surveys and not telling me. I said, well, who was surveyed? People who blow through my city, or people who actually live here who are using it for transportation? And I'm getting all different answers from people about who it is that has been engaged in this. And then first it was building this bike path, but then it became about the infrastructure, because when one position wasn't popular, we added another position to that. So to me, the process is flawed. I would relook at this. I'm not going to say I'm going to scrap everything that is done, because it would be a waste of taxpayers' dollars in order for us, if there's already been dollars committed to it. But what I will do is somebody who will look at the project and reevaluate it and make sure that if we care about looking at our biking and our walking with an equity lens, that we really ask ourselves the hard questions to do that.
Do you concur that the street does need to be redone?
All of our streets in St. Paul need to be redone.
I will. Mr. Carter, I'll come to you, and then I promise.
Can I just say, though,
Yeah.
that when I hear somebody next to me telling me it's a batshit answer, it is so disrespectful to the fact of that. These are real issues, real things that people in our city are experiencing. And when you don't have a bike path, and Eastsiders are calling me saying, we don't have good biking infrastructure here, and we're talking about something batshit on Summit Avenue, to me, our priorities in this city are off.
Okay, so I know we're getting towards the end, but I'm good. Okay, I'm gonna go Adam, Melvin, and then Mike. Mike, I promise you're gonna get double time.
Don't I didn't answer that one.
Well, but we've kind of specifically gotten into a thing now, so.
I have a really good answer.
Okay, well, it'll be good in a second. Adam?
I want to clarify, it was a bullshit answer, not a batshit answer. Sorry.
I'm gonna just ask, like, we are very close to the end of this. I have
That's
a
right.
pretty good track record of if we can just maintain civility for the next 8 minutes.
I'm just saying, to her whole point is to dismiss the Summit Avenue as like this equity thing. We need to build bike infrastructure everywhere in the city, and Summit Avenue is a fantastic place to do it. It's like very central. It's a good thing, and there's lots of bike trails that we need to do all over the place, and we can do all that. And I do agree that the streets need to be drawn. I'm saying it's a bad answer because it's just dismissing the issue entirely. And I want to talk about East Side again because I bike over there, and it does have some good bike infrastructure. I want to clarify that it's not perfect, and a lot of the neighborhoods need to have better bike infrastructure as well. But you look at the Grand Round, it goes through the East Side, and that's what gives me the opportunity to go to the grocery store on a bike. And I can't bike here or anywhere in the Summit Hill area because it's crap bike infrastructure. I mean, it's just, you have to look at it and...
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and I know I said I was going to cut, but I feel like you're going to have a reason to respond after I go to Mike. And so I'm going to go to Mike, and then I'll come back over here, and Yan also wants an opportunity.
Well, Summit Avenue has a bike lane. It has both directions. And Summit Avenue, drive down it. It's one of the smoother streets in St. Paul. You go one street over is Grand Avenue, and it's just torn to pieces. And Grand Avenue, okay, I'm going to go back to the whole tax thing again and how expensive it is. Look at how many their empty stores are now on Grand Avenue. It's a disaster. But we're putting it into Summit Avenue, and now the people that live on Summit Avenue are going to have to pay 25% of that. So that's $40,000 that these individuals have to pay for a bike lane that 80% of the people don't want. And I thought this was representative government here, right? And we're going to lose 1,000 trees. On and on it goes. If we have a tax problem, a crime problem, and a homelessness problem, I don't think we need to try to fix something where we already have a bike lane there already.
Okay, Chen, I'm going to come back to you. You were politely waving, and so I'm going to come to you.
Okay, yeah, no, I think I just want to make it clear. I virtually agree the process was not helpful, right? Because we really make two sides of the party don't see eye to eye, which is completely unnecessary thing to do. So the process was not very good. But in addition, I agree with Mike, I agree with both Representative Her, that is, we do have a bike lane already there. And is the bike lane perfect? No, absolutely not. I walk the neighborhood and I know which section can be modified. But does that mean we need to spend so much tax dollar right now at this moment to do that? And why there are so many other infrastructure projects we can deal with? No, I think it's not money wise spent at all.
Okay, thank you so much. We are basically at time, and I want to give an opportunity for everybody to give us a closing statement. So we started by asking you all why you are the right person to lead the city of St. Paul over the next 4 years. In our final statements, which we'll give you 60 seconds for, we started over here last time, so we'll start down there with Mike this time. I'd ask you, offer your closing statement and perhaps offer people a picture of what would the city be like after 4 years of you leading into the future. Sorry, 3 years into the future. However long you like. So what would the city be like and how would lives of people in St. Paul be different by the end of your term?
Well, I'd be singularly focused on three things: taxes, crime, and homelessness. And everything would have to go through that prism. We can't be the most expensive place to live in Minnesota. We can't. We can't be the most expensive place to run a business because no one is going to come here, no one's going to grow here, and no one's going to stay here. That's why we've lost so many. So, and if we, keep electing the same people year after year after year, we're going to get the same results. And if we all do that, well, then let's not complain about it. Okay, let's not complain what happens when we keep making the same choices. So what I think we need for this 3-year term, I think you guys should vote for me. Okay, it's only 3 years, so you don't even have to go the whole 4. And I think it's going to take a businessman or a businesswoman this time around to get down to the core issues that are causing a problem. And we got to start with the most important thing and work our way down the list. We're not going to be able to do everything. I don't want to cut services for everybody, but we're going to be really efficient delivering the ones we have. So here's your choice right here. You got Mike Hilborn as an opportunity.
Thank you so much. Kaohyl.
Thank you, everyone. I think that I am the clearest choice for mayor. If we went back to the diversifying our revenues, I was the only one who brought an idea that did not have to do with taxes. That what has been brought forward has been either, if it's not property tax, it's another tax. I am the only one who brought in an innovative solution to this. I'm also the only person who said, where's their duplicate services, so that we can say, because it's not going to be forever. We are going to have to tighten our belts for these next 3 years because of not just our city, but the threat from the federal government, our school districts, our county, our state, all of us. And so then we're going to have to work together on that. And I am the only person who has actually made laws at different levels of government. That I know that the city cannot solve the problems in front of us by ourselves. That we have to work with our city, with our state elected officials, our counties, our school board, and every single one of us. I will say that when the city would not work with the East Side on dealing with helping businesses with the Payne Avenue, they went to their state legislators because the city would not partner with them. And the state brought $250,000 in order to help those businesses on the East Side so that they could succeed through that construction. The city washed their hands and would not work with them. I will not be that kind of a mayor. I will be somebody who knows who to work with and at which level of government to do that work so that we don't have to solve the problems by ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Dullinger.
I think I'm up here and I have the best knowledge of actual urban design. I've spent a lot of time in my life focusing on street design and how to make our cities a better built environment, because the built environment is what we all experience every single day, and it's what we spend most of our money on. And so I think it's very important to be very focused on making those investments wisely, making them efficiently so we can save money. And having like a connected bike infrastructure is extremely important for our kids, for everyone, for affordability, to allow us to have the freedom of movement throughout our city. And I think I'd be the best choice, and I'm willing to do things differently. You know, if we really want change, you need to have someone who cares about doing things differently, even if it goes against the status quo. You know, we've got a whole bunch of business owners and business degree people up here. I'm the only one who's not, and I think that we need someone who thinks a little differently than just the typical business status quo.
Thank you so much. Melvin Carter.
We've been through a lot over these past several years, and our city has not been immune to some of the global crises and some of the global kind of headwinds that we've had. We're coming through it stronger. Violent crime is down by double digits. We've doubled our spending to invest in our infrastructure, and we've got more major investment signals from all over our city, including our downtown right now. We'll continue to push on that. Our top most urgent priorities will be addressing the fentanyl crisis, continuing our momentum downtown, building as much more housing as we can, and protecting our neighbors who are being unfairly targeted by ICE for immigration raids. These are critical and urgent priorities for us that we are going to continue to move forward in our city. I'm the only one up here who's ever had to actually navigate all of these things. I'm the only one up here who's ever actually had to turn all of these values into a spreadsheet that equals out at the bottom, and I'm asking you for your vote so that we can continue to move forward. I'm Melvin Carter. I am your mayor, and I'm asking to be your first choice on November 4th. Thank you so much for coming out tonight, and thanks for everybody who hosted and helped organize this.
Thank you, and Chen.
Yeah, thank you. I think when you mentioned the complexity, I think I've been dealing with, I have in my science career, that was a lot of complexity. The question is not to make complex things more complex, is how you simplify the things and solving problem at its root. What I have observed our city mistake. However, what I see is potential. Our city has a huge amount of potential, but it requires a mayor willing to do things differently and learn how to coordinate them with other government agencies. We cannot, I don't have a magic. Right? I promise a lot, but in order to deliver all these, I think the only way to do it by strong coordination, by trying to do things effectively and efficiently. I think 3 years from now, I hope your life will be much more affordable. Older people has a place to, they don't need to worry about their fixed income. And young people has more home ownership. Without this, we wouldn't unlock the opportunity for young generation. And we need to do that effectively.
Thank you so much. This is a moment where I would invite everyone here to please do a round of applause for all 5 of you. St. Paul has ranked choice voting, as we heard at the top. Now, one of the great things about this in St. Paul is that you get up to 6 choices, and you've only got 5 candidates. Which means you can rank all 5 of these people in the order you want. I know that there's sometimes confusion or people have questions about ranked choice voting. You have the greatest asset ever in the fair vote folks who are here, Gene. But the bottom line I always encourage everybody is it's pretty simple. Rank the people that you want to be mayor in the order that you would most like them to be mayor. Just think about who you most would like to be mayor, who is second, and who is third and fourth and fifth for you, and put them in that order on the thing, and you will have a great election day. So with that, I want to thank you all so much for coming. This has been a tremendous turnout. I am delighted to have gotten to be part of this. Thank you so much to all of our partners with the neighborhood organizations, to all of our media partners for recording this. Our candidates will be sticking around until at least 8:30 to answer questions in this room and the room next door. But until then, thank you all so much for coming out tonight, and please, please, please vote by November 4th.